Whitening products are damaging to the
Right.
teeth. They just are.
Yep.
Most have hydrogen peroxide in them, which is it's really astringent on the teeth. And so it can be really damaging. I do not recommend over whitening, like doing it on a regular basis. I don't recommend. So it's important to keep your teeth strong and mineralized in between whitenings because it is damaging. It has a damaging effect. If you whiten your teeth with anything that I'm going to talk about, you want to use hydroxyapatite before and after to remineralize whatever was demineralized in that whitening process. Make sure you're drinking salty water. The best whitening protocol is what you do on a daily basis to keep your teeth clean and mineralized. Welcome back to the Medicine Podcast. My name is Mimi. I'm sitting here with my love under the red hat to talk about one of my favorite topics on planet Earth.
Talking about teeth today, baby.
Let's talk about teeth, baby. Let's talk about you and me.
I was, as we were prepping for this conversation, I was thinking about how critically important teeth are in the aesthetic, the act of manifesting your perfect partner, and so many of these things that we talk about, how actually important for just physical beauty someone's teeth, someone's mouth environment. It's one of those that kind of, for whatever reason, isn't a top priority for many people when they're thinking about like looking as beautiful as possible, right? And something about the mouth is always like, oh, it's such a chore to brush or floss. And compared to when I witness, women mostly put makeup on, and the amount of hours they spend and dollars they spend on their hair and their skin and the countertops that are filled with 99 different bottles of God knows what. I'm always blown away when I hear from people like, oh, I forget to floss or forget to brush. And I'm like, yo, that is like 60 seconds out of your day compared to the entire supply chain, like manufacturing system that you've developed for your skincare routine or your hair. It's just like absolutely mind blowing. And so we're talking about teeth today, if you haven't picked that up yet. And this is a long conversation. We've done dental health episodes in the past.
We've had a holistic dental health series, in like I think it was like in the 70s and 80s.
It's episode 79. Episode 84 and episode 94. We've had guests on talking about dental health, and then we've gone through, our best practices. And so today is a little bit of a refresh on some of those, but even more importantly, we'll specifically address questions that we've received from our listeners and followers. And so it's probably a lengthy conversation. We're going to kick off the conversation with primarily you speaking to most important, maybe underrated, looked over tips for a healthy mouth. And then the latter half of the episode, we will get into the questions that have been submitted and specifically respond to them in as much detail as possible.
Yeah, so I have written out from my own brain 5 pro tips for a healthier mouth. Some of this will be duplicative from our previous dental health episodes, but we have a lot of new listeners, and I think it'll be a good refresh. And then, we have a bunch of questions that were submitted on Instagram. So thank you to everyone who submitted questions. And I think we should just get rolling here. I guess I will start by saying, if you don't know, I am a registered dental hygienist. I have been since 2013, been practicing since 2011, if you count dental hygiene school, which arguably dental hygiene school patients were way harder than anything that I had in private practice. And so, I've been practicing since 2011. And since I moved to California the last 4 years, I have not practiced clinically, but I still have all the knowledge up in my noggin, and I'm still a certified tooth nerd. And now more than I was in dental hygiene school, really a holistic health enthusiast. So I've learned a lot out of dental hygiene school, being in practice, yes, but then also moving into this more holistic health space, I've learned so much from the books that I'm going to talk about, the guests that we've had on, people that I follow online. So I'm constantly adding to my knowledge base.
And just to toot your own horn, as you were a dental hygienist, you were the best. Like, you are the picture perfect case of a tooth nerd. You are the tooth fairy. Your teeth are perfect. I could literally see my reflection in them. They're so freaking white. And then you just love it. You're absolutely fascinated by it. We come across a lot of health professionals, really intelligent, health practitioners, and you always bring to the table things that they've never heard of as it pertains to oral health care and dental care. In fact, there have been people who you would seem to think that they might know everything about health, that you have actually blown their minds on certain dental health attributes that they've, adopted or taken on in their own life and seen, wild results. So just tooting your own horn a little bit, like, you are of the utmost expert when it comes to this topic.
Thank you for the toot, my love.
You are welcome. Yeah, I think we should get into it. I will say I am just deliciously sipping this hot cup of Mushy Love latte.
Me too.
And since we got back from Austin, Texas, in the wintertime, and especially when we grew up in the Pacific Northwest, my skin just gets wrecked, like super dry. My fingers will crack. And we went to Austin, Texas. It's a little better when we live in San Diego, but I'm usually getting some level of, dryness during the winter. It still gets cold here. We went to Austin. It was freezing. It was like 5 degrees out.
Oh God, it was so bad.
And super dry. And both of our skins just got wrecked. And then I was thinking, like, oh my God, I wasn't taking any Mushy Love at all while we were in Austin. And since I've been back the last couple of weeks, first drink of my day, right when I get up in the morning, is a hot cup of Mushy Love latte. I'll put a little bit of Organifi's chocolate protein in there so that it's really thick and bold. And then I'll put a splash of raw milk, steamed raw milk. And oh my God, I mean, it's delicious. It tastes like a liquid cinnamon roll. But I have noticed my skin is so much more hydrated. I am, of course, not getting breakouts and things of that nature, but I've had people ask me, like, what are you doing? You're glowing. And I'm not doing anything. I'm, if I make it to a shower once a day, it's a success. But I have legitimately felt my skin more hydrated. And that is one of the benefits of Mushy Love Latte is that
Thank you, Tremella.
Your Tremella mushroom, which we have, half a gram of in Mushy Love Latte, holds 500 times its weight in water. And dehydration is one of the most overlooked attributes of symptoms and constipation and some of these other things that are really low-hanging fruit. And if you can just prioritize hydrating, it's just a game changer.
And premature aging.
Totally.
Like, when cells and tissues are dehydrated, it ages you faster.
Yeah, and relevant in today's conversation because so many benefits from having a healthy mouth are similar to the benefits of just having healthy skin. And it's a holistic idea here that we're talking about. And so encourage anybody, if you haven't tried Mushy Love Latte, to definitely keep some in your medicine cabinet. You can get it at getmushylove.com. You can always use the code MEDICINE, that's MEDICIN, for 10% off. And I am absolutely loving it. And of course, we made the product, so we should love it. But I'm continually surprised by how much of a benefit I feel from taking it.
Yeah. It's a no-brainer. It's an everyday thing for me. And it's just such low-hanging fruit.
Right.
Having something delicious. You're not like downing a bunch of pills. It's delicious. I look forward to drinking it every single morning. And I love knowing that I'm getting that nutrition, that cellular hydration, nutrition in my body first thing every single day.
It is an act of love, which is a perfect segue into talking about the 5 pro tips for a healthier mouth. These are all acts of love for your teeth.
Yes.
And we'll be getting into them. So kicking it off, number 1, floss daily for whiter teeth and, more importantly, a longer life. Unpack that for us.
Yes. So a theme that you guys will hear over the course of today, over this conversation, probably a few times, is the emphasis on the fact that we are not just a mouth, we are not just a gut, we are not just a brain, we're not just this culmination of separate parts and pieces, right? You and I know this, we live by this, but I think that there are still a lot of people out there, certainly in the more mainstream conventional approaches to health, kind of treating people as parts and pieces. And you'll hear as we get into this conversation that the way that I see it, the way that I believe is the best way to go about this topic, dental health, is really seeing you, viewing yourself and every other person as a holistic being. One part is not separate from any other part, and the health of one area of the body inevitably will affect other areas of the body. So disclaimer there, but this is a really important theme as we're talking about oral health. You started the conversation talking about the aesthetic, and of course that exists, but also there's so much more to a healthy mouth. There's so much more to these dental tips than just, how to have a brighter, whiter smile, which I'll talk about as well too. But so yes, floss daily for whiter teeth and more importantly, a longer life. This is I'm going to refer to some research here. This is from the Journal of Periodontology. They had a systematic meta-analysis from 2016 where a bunch of different studies were reviewed. And what they found was a significant association between periodontal disease, and I'll explain what that is, periodontal disease and the risk of cardiovascular disease. And so periodontal disease, let's break that down, often referred to I just call it perio, basically. It's, you guys, for those of you listening, if you've ever been like close to someone or smelt someone's breath, where it's not just like onion breath or garlic breath, but it's really like, it smells like there's death happening in the person's mouth, where it's almost like, it almost feels like it's like attacking your face.
Yeah, it's in all honesty, it's kind of like garbagey. It's like there's like a cloud of kind of like waste that you would be stepping into. Like if you were to go to the waste management place or the dump, essentially.
Yeah. And I'm not saying this to make anyone feel bad if you've ever dealt with perio in your life, but I'm just trying to I'm trying to connect the dots here for people. If you've ever smelt that smell from someone, usually it's like older people, but not necessarily. It can happen to young people as well. I've treated many young patients with this, but it is the process of, basically severe disease in the mouth. So when disease starts in the mouth, it starts out as gingivitis, which is just like puffy, red, bleeding gums. If that goes on long enough, then it can advance to what's called periodontal disease, where now it's not just affecting the gums, but it's also affecting the ligament surrounding the tooth called the periodontal ligament. And it's also affecting the other connective tissue and also the bone levels. So this is when the bone actually starts to degrade in your jaw. This is not good, because if that keeps on going, if it doesn't get addressed and treated, your teeth can literally fall out of your mouth. Mm-hmm. So this is really serious. So what this study showed is people who have periodontal disease have a higher risk of cardiovascular disease. And this makes so much sense when you break it down. Another study published in the Journal of Clinical Periodontology in 2015 found that regular flossing was associated with a reduction in gum bleeding and periodontal disease. And these are common signs of gingivitis. Gum bleeding is the first sign that you need to pay attention to, that there's disease happening in your mouth. So of course, this is like a no-brainer for me, like flossing associated with a reduction in this, but I don't think people always put this together. So that's what I mean by floss daily for a wider smile, but also a longer life. And when you think about this, like I said, it makes so much sense, because bleeding gums is not normal. This is a sign from your body that something is off, something is wrong. It's basically like an open wound in your mouth. And it's like an infected open wound in your mouth. So that bacteria underneath your gums travels into your bloodstream and can go to different areas of the body. So this is like chronic inflammation. So flossing helps to reduce chronic inflammation in the mouth, gingivitis, and then also reduces your risk of periodontal disease. And by doing that, you're also putting a penny every day into the bank of a longer, healthier life. So flossing is not just about removing food. that's nice to get a big chunk of steak or chicken out from in between your teeth. But even if I had no food stuck ever, I would still floss every single day to keep that inflammation down, keep things nice and squeaky clean, and, add that penny into my bank of a long, healthy life.
Yeah. I mean, something we'll be talking about for the entire day is the connection to the rest of the body from the mouth. The mouth is the mouth of the river. And if you don't ensure that the mouth of the river is as tip-top in shape as possible, it will feed into the downstream avenues that this river goes in the form of, our body and a host of different spaces.
Yeah. I used to explain to patients that the mouth is the gateway to the body. It's one of the gateways. But there's no wall. There's no wall, separating your mouth from the rest of the body. It is directly mainlining bacteria into your bloodstream when you have this chronic sort of like leaky gum situation going on. So yes, when you floss, you're removing harmful plaque and bacteria from in between the teeth and under the gums. You're reducing that chronic inflammation long term, and you're removing the sticky plaque that stain sticks to from your food and drinks and things. So not only are you, you're improving your overall health, but you're also going to have a whiter smile. I can tell looking at someone almost immediately if they don't floss. I can tell because there's an accumulation of plaque and stain between the teeth. When someone is a baller flosser, it almost looks like they have one giant tooth when they smile.
Well, I when I get stain, it's usually in the bottom teeth and in the back. It'll stick on those areas that I clearly can't reach with floss. Obviously, you can't reach with brushing either. And they'll be like, I have a pretty damn clean mouth. But there'll be this little section that, of course, is clearly evidence of just having missed it with floss. And it'll turn like, coffee color, which is, of course, from coffee.
Yeah.
But it's so wild how that actually shows up. That evidently is when you skip flossing, you've got these sort of magnets for any sort of stain.
Absolutely. It's a good thing that you live with a hygienist, eh?
I find that to be very beneficial.
So let's talk about types of floss, because not all flosses are created equal. There are definitely some types that you want to stay away from for sure. This is any type of floss that is slick feeling. If it's slidey, glidey, very smooth, almost like a ribbon, you want to stay away from that floss, like the Glide floss. Sorry, Glide. I cannot endorse you.
Well, and those might be tempting because they feel better. They're a little softer. They kind of sneak into the teeth a little quicker.
Yeah. And that's why people use it a lot, because it's like, well, it feels better on my teeth, or I have tight contacts or whatever. And I get that. But these types of flosses are, one, not only are they not effective because they're so slidey that it's like trying to clean a dirty shower with a silk rag.
Yeah.
Like you need some friction.
Right.
And not only that, but they're also coated in Teflon, which is a well-known carcinogen. So stay away from the slick, ribbony Glide flosses. The floss that we use personally is from Burst Oral Care, and I will have all the links in the show notes, you guys. We also have a discount code for them. So Burst Oral Care, it's coated with coconut oil and charcoal, so that the floss is actually black. And if you look at it, if you feel it, if you run it through your fingers, it actually feels like rope.
I was gonna say I could like lasso this thing, and it's legit rope. But I've also noticed that I've actually broken calculus off of my teeth because of the slightly more adhesive texture of the floss than something super cheap, or even the floss that's like really, really thin and white. It's not the Teflon super slick, but it's so miniature that this floss feels like rope in one's hand. But it's so legit.
Yeah, totally. You want to look for the floss that's kind of got a rope-like feeling to it. Another great floss brand is Dr. Tung's Smart Floss, and this is on the Living Libations website, or you can just Google Dr. Tung, but we do have a Living Libations discount as well. Again, will be in the show notes. Living Libations, if you haven't heard or seen me talking about it on social media or anything, this is our go-to.
Yeah, you're going to want to pull up the website right now because we're going to be recommending a lot of things from Living Libations.
I have never found better dental products than from Living Libations. So definitely check them out. We have a discount. I believe it is Actually, they use a link. They use a discount link, an affiliate link. So you have to use this specific link. It'll be in the show notes. If you have braces or you don't like putting your fingers in your mouth, which I get, and you have some disposable income, there's actually an electric flosser that we have and use. I got it for you for Christmas, which maybe you can talk about that one a little bit, and kind of how it works and how it feels.
Yeah, if you've ever used the throwaway single-use little flossers that come on like a plastic little fork-looking thing, the head of this electric flosser looks just like that. And then if you've ever used a Sonicare and an electric toothbrush, that's essentially what the handle looks like as well. And so it vibrates at probably, like 5,000 vibrations per second or something. I think it's like
15,000.
15,000
per minute,
And so it has this sort of like vibrating and sliding attribute to the head when you press the button, and it feels just like a Sonicare or like an electric toothbrush does. And then you move it around to the various spots in your mouth that you're looking to floss. I love it. It feels really, really great. I don't use it every single night because if for whatever reason there is some benefit to standard like original style flossing, I want to make sure that I'm getting both. And so I'm like, 2 nights with the electric flosser, 1 night with the rope, back to the electric flosser. And I think it's awesome. I don't think it's necessary because you can get a lot done and likely have a lot more control and learn a lot more about your teeth intimately with like the traditional flossing method. But I'm a big fan. It feels great on my gums. I like the vibration of the flosser, not only just for getting extra gunky, maybe like what some people call tartar, what can continue into calculus, and like plaque buildup. It really nudges that off more so than using the rope. But big fan of it. And I'm just saying it's not a necessity like some of the other things that I would recommend.
But I would say it is a necessity for if your kid has braces, because they have a specific an ortho option where you get specific heads that fit underneath the braces. And I shit you not, the amount of kids that I've seen in braces that they get their braces off and now they have very straight, ugly teeth because they haven't taken care of their teeth. Yeah. So they're demineralized, they're yellow, they're stained, and it's just it's not cute. It's not good. So if your kid doesn't like flossing, and I get it, like threading through is just a nightmare. So maybe try this Slate flosser. I don't even know if we said the name, but it's the Slate flosser.
And we're not affiliated.
No, we don't have a discount code or anything. Sorry. It's not cheap. It's about $80, but a great option for kids with limited dexterity. If you don't like putting your hands in your mouth, braces, or even like elderly people that have lost some dexterity in their hands, it could be a really good option for them. All right.
Moving on to number 2. Support your internal invisible toothbrushing system. When you support your gut, you support your mouth.
Holler. Yes. Okay. So let's talk about the internal invisible toothbrush. So there's a myth out there that I used to think when I was a kid that teeth were just bone.
Just bone.
Just like bone sticking out through your gums. And I don't know why you wouldn't think that, but they kind of look the same. But this is totally false. This is not true at all. Teeth are living structures, and our teeth are intimately connected to our gut. And I'm going to explain what that is. So our teeth have this innate internal cleaning system, which is so perfect. The body is just so freaking incredible that God, source, creator, whatever, whoever put these meat suits together, evolution, I don't know, but this intelligence is just wild to me. So we have this internal fluid, this internal system within each tooth. It's sort of like lymph flow within the tooth structure. And normally this internal, it's called dentinal fluid. It's flowing from inside the tooth up through the pulp chamber and out these pores on the tooth itself. So through the enamel, there's these tiny microscopic pores. And when everything is optimal, this fluid flushes up and out sort of like a centrifuge. So this fluid is really amazing. It flushes toxins. It helps to remineralize teeth. It repels biofilm and plaque. It neutralizes acids. If there's a crack in the enamel, then this fluid fills in. It increases in that area, sort of like sap on a tree. If a tree gets wounded in the bark, it'll fill in and send nutrients through the sap to repair. It's the same thing that's happening in the teeth. So this is great, right? Your teeth have this internal ability, this innate ability to heal themselves, to remineralize themselves. Of course they do. Because you think about people thousands and thousands of years ago weren't using Sonicare toothbrushes, right? So what was the difference? How did they keep all of their teeth? You know, you look at this.
And I think a lot of us think that all their teeth just fell out and they were just gumming it for the rest of their lives.
No. You look at these tribes that Weston A. Price traveled around and looked at. They might have had some calculus, like some buildup from like calcium deposits, but their teeth were in perfect alignment. They were big, they were mineralized, and they were white. And he was just floored by this. And what it came down to was their diet. So this internal system is perfect, but it can get thrown off. And so really, I'm going to unpack this just a little bit more. We're going to get a little sciencey, putting our tooth nerd hats on. But in 1958, this groundbreaking dentist, his name is Dr. Ralph Steinman. He wasn't fully convinced that cavities just formed from bacteria and sugar on top of the teeth, right? Like we all know that sugar isn't great for teeth, but he wasn't convinced that that was the only thing going on. So he conducted all these different studies. And one of the first studies that he did was on rats. And what he did was he injected a fluorescent dye into the stomachs, into the gut of these rats. And he basically observed what happened to that dye. Like, where did it go in the rest of the body after he injected it into the gut? What he found was that within 6 minutes, it showed up in the pulp chambers of these rats' little teeth. And then within an hour, this dye was actually in the enamel. Damn. So he's like, there's something here. Yeah. There's something to this. Like whatever happens in our gut is also happening inside our teeth, which is wild. So this really like amped up his curiosity, and he teamed up with an endocrinologist, John Leonora, to figure out how and why this was happening. So 40 years of research and hundreds of studies prove this internal flow, this internal system that actually starts in the brain. So when we chew, our hypothalamus, which is an area of the brain, sends a signal to our parotid gland, which sits right here, kind of by your earlobe. And the parotid gland secretes this, it has this hormonal secretion that really dictates the flow of this dentinal fluid inside of our teeth. And so when all of this is operating well, the flow of the fluid goes out, like I said. But when this is suboptimal, when this endocrine system is not optimal, the flow actually reverses and the tooth starts sucking up things from its environment, bacteria, pathogens, even fungi, sugar in the mouth. So it goes from this beautiful self-cleaning system to now a vacuum when it's disrupted. So this is just like mind-blowing. By the way, I didn't learn any of this in dental hygiene school. So that's kind of wild to me. So we know that there's this intimate connection between the brain, the gut, and our teeth are literally receiving nutrients from our gut. There's a direct connection from our gut, what we feed ourselves, into the nutrient canals, basically, that flow up into our teeth. So this is why vitamins are so important. Specific vitamins like A, D, E, and K are so important for healthy teeth, because we are fortifying our teeth from the inside out by what we eat. Our teeth can only get nourished by what we eat. And obviously what we put in our mouth for dental products makes a difference too, but it's primarily what we eat. This is why, I would always be so confused in dental hygiene school or even early on in my practice, because there were people with literally like perfect dental hygiene routines. They were flossing, they were brushing, using an electric toothbrush, like water pick. They said that, their hygiene routine was on point. yet they would still get cavities. And I wish I would have known this back then. I could have directed them a little bit better, but you don't know what you don't know. So let's talk about what disrupts this internal system, this hypothalamus to parotid to gut connection. So high amounts of dietary sugar can throw this off.
Who does that?
And not just like eating candy. I'm talking about fermentable carbohydrates,
right.
processed foods, cereals, cakes, cookies, chips, crackers, these fermentable carbohydrates with high amounts of sucrose.
Sugary drinks.
Yeah. Sugary drinks for sure. Basically anything that causes an insulin spike. Unnatural additives, nutrient deficiencies, long-term high blood sugar. This is why people who deal with diabetes also have really a hard time keeping things together in the mouth because it's so intimately linked. But the good news is that this optimal flow can be restored, and we simply just need to change our diet. And this is where we were talking about this last night on our evening walk. It's like, of course, all the recommendations that you hear for optimal gut health and optimal protein synthesis and all these other things that go into feeling and looking healthy, of course, that's the same information that you need, the same advice that you need for a healthy mouth, right? Because everything is connected. This is where, that saying, that quote, all disease starts in the gut. Even gum disease, even, tooth decay, things like that is so intimately connected to the gut. It makes so much sense that there's certain concepts that are universal.
Well, it's nuts. We were even having the conversation of this is no shame on vegans, and there are some vegans who are doing it the right way out there, and they're really sophisticated and are very healthy. But there is a vegan look. Let's just say the standard vegan who may not be going through veganism as robust as someone else would be. And there's a gray to them. There's a lifelessness to them. There's a frailty to them. And their mouth is also the teeth gray in the same way that their skin does. Their lips aren't filled with life. They're almost like they're ill in some flat, way. And of course, the lack of certain animal-based foods are contributing to not only this general frailty in physique, but the deterioration of the vibrancy of their own mouth. Because as I think you'll be getting to here shortly, so much of this can be restored through a proper diet that is, heavily rooted in animal-based foods.
Yeah. I won't say who it is, obviously, but I was talking to a woman a few months ago, and I noticed that her teeth were really gray looking. They just looked very dull and gray, almost like see-through. And then she brought up organically on her own, she brought up the fact that she was a vegetarian. And I was like, in my head, I was like, it makes sense now, because she's probably deficient in some key nutrients that only come from animal products or supplementation.
Right.
So it was just like, oh yeah, I can definitely tell. Again, no shame on vegans and vegetarians. This is just empirical observation and what we see in the dental literature. So, okay, this is also really important for parents to know for their little kids.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
It seems like kid food is just bullshit. It's like goldfish and candy and fish sticks and fried stuff and very low nutrient density foods.
Even if you are quote unquote trying, and you go to Trader Joe's or Whole Foods and you go to kids food, it is so sugary. You've got healthy branding on things like gummy snacks and fruit roll-ups. And again, no problem with any of those in moderation. I'm grateful that there are brands that are trying to make them organic and sourced with high quality ingredients, et cetera, but there's still such a predominance of sugar and simple carbohydrates over protein, over healthy fats. Yeah.
Things like pancakes and waffles and cereal, toast, all of these fermentable carbohydrates.
It's just so many carbs.
we as parents really need to be aware of this, because even when your kid is like 2 or 3 years old and they might only have, a few teeth in there, tiny little baby teeth, their permanent teeth are actually forming in their jaw at 2 or 3 years old. So they need these really essential, important nutrients, these essential minerals and vitamins. And if there is a nutrient deficiency when those permanent teeth are forming in the jaw, these teeth, once they're formed, will erupt, which just means coming through the gums. They'll come through the gums, being more prone to getting cavities. So right off the bat, these kids are at a disadvantage for fighting tooth decay, because, they weren't getting these essential nutrients at a young age. So really, really important, like as much as you can. I know balance is a thing, of course, but focus on nutrient dense animal products, things like eggs, fish, meat, raw dairy. These things are so nutrient dense.
There's a reason that, in the men's health space, aesthetic space, jaw size and shape is so important. Why? Because it makes them more attractive. And I think what's missed is that it's like just simply an aesthetic thing, and it's some sort of like stylish thing to have a big jaw. No, it's primal. There's a primal recognition of a healthy, structured, and supported mouth. And a healthy jaw. It doesn't have to be, freaking huge and sexy like James Bond or something. I assume James Bond has a pretty good jaw, the various actors out there. But
Brad Pitt
jaw. Guy looks like he could, dominate the world with his jaw muscles. But it's indicative, even subconsciously, in our animalistic instinct to recognize vitality with a strong mouth.
Yeah. And if you really want to go deep on this subject, the book by Dr. Kate Shanahan, it's called Deep Nutrition. I read it years ago, and it's very dense, but it is mind-blowing. I'll just say that it's mind-blowing. If you really want to understand how our dietary choices really affect the formation of our teeth, and not only our teeth, but our head and jaw, even with a mother when she's pregnant and before that, like, this is so deep. There's a lot to be said, but that's definitely a book to check out if you're interested in going deep on the nutrition side. Also, this book, Holistic Dental Care by Nadine Artemis. But really quickly, I'll make this short here. We want to focus on things rich in copper, iron, phosphorus, calcium, manganese are really important for tooth development. And like I said, vitamins A, C, D, and K. These come from whole foods. Y'all, you want whole foods, not just foods that are fortified with vitamin E or fortified with vitamin D. That's not what we're talking about. Animal products, really important here. Pasture-raised eggs with the really dark yellow orange yolk. That's how you know it's really rich in vitamins, specifically K, vitamins K2. Pasture-raised meat and dairy, again, emphasis on pasture-raised, grass-fed, organic as much as possible. Things like salmon, avocado, pumpkin seeds, really good sources of vitamin E. Organ meats, cod liver oil. Cod liver oil is super high in vitamin A. These are just some examples. Of course, the list of foods is long and many, but these are some recommendations.
Super good.
Yeah.
Skip the Jazzercisers out there, the little, plastic squishy things that you can build your jaw muscles up with. I'm not a huge proponent of those. Rather, get yourself some grass-fed, grass-finished steak. It's chewy as shit, but it tastes great, and you'll develop some hypertrophy on your jaw muscles, as well as get the animal-based nutritional density that you'll need for a healthy mouth, healthy teeth. All right, moving on to number 3.
Yes.
This one is getting quite popular, and we both absolutely advocate for this. Tape your mouth when you sleep.
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah, nasal breathing, I feel like, is kind of not a trend, but it's the awareness around the importance of nasal breathing is growing right now. So you're seeing, at least in my feed, I'm seeing a lot of stuff around nasal versus mouth breathing.
Thank you, Andrew Huberman.
Yeah. So we should be breathing out of our mouth as little as possible, honestly. Nasal breathing, there's so many benefits.
Yeah, I started nasal breathing a few years ago for stress relief. We've talked about it on this episode before, but you breathe through your nose and you stimulate your vagus nerve. Your vagus nerve is the primary parasympathetic, sympathetic dictator for your nervous system. And when you vibrate through the nose hairs down to the vagus nerve, you are activating a rest and digest signal to your entire body. And so I really focused on nasal breathing, as I have always dealt with a host of different, hyperactive stress conditions, which I now know is genetic since we got our genetic testing. That's another conversation. And also for insomnia. So making sure that I can get to a deep restful state before I sleep. I will primarily nose breathe. And then there are a host of benefits to just nasal breathing throughout your day, which we'll get into. Some of them benefit your mouth and your jaw, but also for nitric oxide support, for circulation. You can essentially hack the heart impact of cardiovascular exercise by keeping your mouth closed and breathing through your nose,
which is really hard.
It's really hard,
by the way.
go for a 10-minute jog at even like a very, very moderate pace, like just jogging, and keep your mouth closed and only breathe through your nose. You'll feel like you're jogging uphill. It's amazing. I've learned to love it, but man, it's a lung burning practice. But all that being said, I think we're even just scratching the surface on all the benefits of really capturing breath through the nose.
Yeah. So you explained some of the benefits beautifully. It's in addition to those, it's filtering and humidifying the air for us. It's promoting better oxygen uptake, supporting optimal lung function, reduced snoring. This is, when you're sleeping, obviously, not in your waking hours. Better oxygenation to your muscles and your brain, more restorative sleep, parasympathetic nervous system activation, which you talked about, and improved oral health, which is what we're going to focus on in this conversation.
And of course, we'd love to be like, all right, I'm like, when I'm working out, I keep my mouth closed. I don't need to tape it closed. Although many people do now that this is becoming a trend. They work out with tape over their mouths. But when you're sleeping, you roll over on your back, or you get in a weird position where the pillow is kind of up against your face and your mouth can get open. Everybody has had that feeling when they wake up in the morning and their mouth is the Sahara Desert. And it almost was like, Jesus Christ, I hope nothing crawled in my mouth at night.
That's another benefit. Did you ever hear the statistic that it's
such
like
a 90s kids statistic?
Right. Let me say it though.
Go for it.
So I heard when I was, 15 or 16, it was like, did you know that on the average human, swallows 6 spiders a year in their sleep? And I was just horrified. I was just absolutely horrified. I don't know if that's true or not,
I don't think so.
With mouth tape, at least we know that it's definitely not happening. But so in the previous tip, we just learned how important the saliva and all of the oral fluids are and having them optimal, how important that is. Well, when we sleep, everything slows down, including your saliva flow. And when you pair that slowed down saliva with mouth breathing all night for 8 hours or more, that is a recipe for inflamed gums and a higher risk of decay in your mouth. So we really want to make sure that we're sleeping with our mouth closed every single night. That's really hard to do on your own, just to, make sure, just to hope that you breathe through your nose at night. And so we have been taping our mouths I've been doing it for about a year now, and I absolutely will not go back.
Yeah, and it's funny because I've gone back and forth due to the fact that I have a beard, and we've tried a host of different brands, and the mouth tape will get stuck to my beard. It might not stick because it's just the adhesive doesn't work well with hair on my face, or maybe it rips my hairs off and it is kind of annoying. But I just have not been able to deny the fact that my heart rate variability scores, which is an indicator of recovery and how well you slept, when I wake up in the morning with mouth tape versus without, and specifically using the brand that we'll be talking about because it actually works for my mouth a little bit better than most brands, but noticeable increase in my heart rate variability score, noticeable increase in my sleep scores and my recovery scores using Whoop, the Whoop band, when I use mouth tape. And so it's like, fuck, even if it plucks a few hairs out, dude, like it's worth it.
Yeah. In addition to more inflammation on the gums and higher risk of cavities, also halitosis. When things are dry in the mouth, halitosis just means bad breath. Your breath is not as great, not as fresh when things are dry in there. And also sleep apnea. Sleeping with your mouth open can increase your odds or risk of sleep apnea.
Well, when your mouth is closed, and I'm mentioning all of these recovery scores, you might be asking why. Well, when you are breathing through your mouth, we just talked about the signaling through your nose that happens to the rest of your body. It's saying rest. It's okay to rest when you're breathing through your nose. It's stimulating the vagus nerve. Rest. It's okay. It's safe. You're okay. You're not active. You're not running from something. When you're running from something, you're triggering mouth breathing because you can't breathe out of your nose any longer. You need to recruit more oxygen. So your body turns into this stress state. Rightfully so. Yeah. So if you sleep with your mouth open and you get into a position where you're predominantly mouth breathing or aggressively mouth breathing, you are sending a signal to the rest of your body. It's time to wake up. It's time to go. You're in a stress state. You might be getting chased by a tiger or whatever the friggin' example people use all the time for the fight or flight response. But that's the rationale here. And if you keep your mouth closed, you actually cut off one potential signal that you may not want to be giving your body when you are sleeping.
Yeah, totally. And if you remember, if you guys listened to our conversation with Dr. Josh Madsen, who is a functional neurologist and chiropractor, if you haven't listened to that episode, please go back. I can't remember the number right now, but I can link it in the show notes. Just search Dr. Josh Madsen.
Probably 8 to 10 episodes ago, I would guess.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite episodes, favorite conversations. It's definitely in the top 10 for me because I learned so much. But one of the things that he really emphasized in that conversation is, we were asking him, like, what do you do for your kid? Like, what are some of the practices that you engage in, that you provide for your growing child? I think he's like 3 years old. He said that when he notices that his son is breathing through his mouth, he'll go over and gently close his mouth. So all the time he is concentrating on nasal breathing for his son, because kids that breathe through their mouth, one, you're not getting all the oxygen that you need for your brain. So you're not getting that increased oxygenation to the entire body, but it also, it affects the development of the facial structures. So if you've ever seen someone with a really long face and sort of like a retracted chin, that can be a number of things, but certainly mouth breathing affects the development of the facial features. Yeah. So he actually said it for himself, like Dr. Josh Madsen. He said that he mouth breathed a lot as a kid, and it affects him now as an adult. So definitely a ton of benefits of nasal breathing. So just a tip for the parents out there: make sure your kids are breathing through their nose.
Yeah, and we've used a ton of brands. Quite honestly, you pushed me into some of this because I was like, dude, I'm ripping my mustache out every time I do this. But we've tried a ton of different brands, and we've also been offered from other brands like sponsorship opportunities and everything. And in all transparency, we've said no because it took a while to find the right type of mouth tape.
Yeah, I started with just like Amazon, like $9 tape. And it worked, but I knew that it was just shit materials. I knew, I just wanted to try it out. I wanted to make sure that it was for me before
the old Scotch tape isn't supportive of holistic health.
Basically Scotch tape. Yeah.
God knows what that adhesive is made of, like pig poop or something.
Oh God, I hope not. But I was like, okay, if I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life, I really want to make sure that I'm getting like a high quality tape. So the brand that we have landed on that we really, really love is a brand called Lunasol, Lunasol. And why I love them is, one reason, it comes in 3 unique shapes. So it comes in an X shape, which is my favorite. So I attach it like this here over my lips, or you can go the long way across your lips if you want, if you don't want it all on your as much on your skin. They also have just the lips, which for some reason sounds like sexual to me.
Like just a kiss on the lips.
Or just the tip.
Yeah.
I don't know why that just sounds sexual to me.
I'm sure that was their intention.
We have just the lips, where it's literally just covering your lips. So no beard action going there. And then they have another one that goes over the lips and over the skin around the lips a little bit. So that's like the full coverage. Like I said, personally, I like the X-shaped best because I like to be able, in the middle of the night, if I need a sip of water, I use my glass straw and I just kind of like slide it in on the side, and I can't go all night without a sip of water. I need it. So I like that, like them for that reason. And then also we inquired with the founders, and we made sure that that the tape and glue doesn't contain any BPAs or phthalates. I told him, I was like, yo, I'm trying to conceive this year. Like, I'm trying to keep BPA, phthalates, endocrine disruptors at as low as possible. So I know that the brand that I was getting on Amazon they didn't give two shits about, BPA and phthalates in there. So, and then the actual material is 95% cotton and 5% spandex. So there's like a little bit of stretch, which is nice. So if you guys want to check out Lunasol, I highly recommend that you do. It's great because they have a sample pack where you can try all 3 different shapes and see which one you like. You just pay shipping and handling, which is like $5, I think. So really good deal there. And then for any orders, you can get 10% off with the discount code medicine. I will also have the link in the show notes if you guys want to try that.
Love it.
Yeah.
Moving on to number 4. This is a message for me. Don't use your teeth as tools. What do you mean by that?
I've said this so many times in my life, you guys, and this one is really quick and dirty. It's very simple. Yeah. Don't use your fucking teeth as tools, meaning biting your nails. Yep. Don't use them as nail clippers. Don't use them to open things like, oh, shoot, I can't get this thing off. Let me just use my teeth and tear it off really quick.
The little like on like herbs and spices, the little like invisible clear plastic. Yeah. If they don't have the little dotted, and even sometimes when they do, sometimes I'm just like, fuck it, dude, I gotta get this thing off. And the only thing that's gonna help is my buck tooth. Boom.
No, I tell you guys, I tell Chase all the time, don't use your teeth as tools, because
I hear you in my head whenever I think about it.
Because it's always like, oh, I'll just do this real quick. But it only takes one little slip to freaking break a cusp off, or damage your teeth, or chip, one of the sexy 6 that I call it, the 6 teeth in front that everyone sees when you smile. Or if you have an existing restoration there, biting your nails, opening things, chewing on non-food items like pens, or even like something like ice. Yeah. Not good.
Gobstoppers. Not great. Runts. Oh my God. Oh, those are my childhood fake candies.
This is what's called parafunctional activity, not to be confused with paranormal activity. This is parafunctional activity. It's literally the act of using your teeth for things that they are not intended for. These front teeth are very thin. You can just slip off and, nick one. So don't use your teeth as tools. It increases your risk of wear, you're chipping your natural teeth, and breaking existing restorations.
Straight up. It's really, really important. I've known people who've chewed their teeth their whole lives, and you can see where they chewed their nails their whole life, and you can see on their teeth where they've worn grooves into chewing. And even I chewed my teeth. Fuck, why do I keep saying that? I chewed with my teeth, believe it or not. I chewed my nails up until about age 27 or 28. And I have the most sensitive spots in my mouth are where I have predominantly put my fingers for chewing of the nails.
It's because you have unnatural wear, and now you've lost that protection of the enamel. Yeah. You can just literally grind through your enamel. So no nail biting, people.
All right. Number 5.
Yeah.
Retain your teeth.
Yeah. All right. So this refers to retainers. So your teeth will move. All of our teeth. They will move the rest of your life. It's called mesial drift. It's like, if you notice, like older folks, they might have more like crowding around their front teeth, specifically the lower teeth, but this can happen anywhere. Your teeth want to like basically move towards the midline of your face. That's why it's called mesial drift. Things just drift this way. And so your teeth will shift throughout your life. If you don't want that to happen, you must retain them. So this can look like a bunch of different things. If you have a retainer but you haven't worn it in like 10 years, it's probably not going to fit. So you probably will have to get a new one. But if you like the way that your teeth look and you don't want them to move, then you need to get a retainer. I would recommend a brand called Vivera, which is really just like a sister brand to Invisalign. It's part of under the Invisalign umbrella. But if you can find a dentist that offers Invisalign, you can just call them up and ask them what it would look like to be scanned for Vivera retainers. That's what you and I both have. I think they give you like 4 sets. At least they did when I was a dental hygienist. That's because they give you 4 sets because over the course of a few years you want to switch those out because the plastic kind of wears out. So when you wear these retainers at night, not only are you preventing that shifting from happening, but you're also protecting your teeth from clenching and grinding, things like that. And then if you want, you can also use these customized retainers as customized whitening trays, and we're going to talk a lot about whitening in the Q&A section. But again, like, I can't tell you how important it is to retain your teeth if you don't want them to move. When they move, when they become more crowded, they will become harder to clean. When they're harder to clean, one, they're not as white. That's what seems to be what everyone, cares about. But you're going to accumulate more plaque and bacteria in these crowded areas. More plaque and bacteria makes it harder to clean. And when you have a hard time cleaning your teeth, you're at more of a risk for gingivitis and periodontitis.
Yep. So
retaining your teeth is not just aesthetic. It's also making sure that they are in proper function, proper alignment. And again, it's not moving the teeth like orthodontics or something like Invisalign would do. But if your teeth are generally like pretty straight, I would absolutely recommend getting a retainer.
Yeah, it's been a game changer for me. Even in the compliments and the feedback that I get from other people that I have great teeth, which is nice. Thank you. Mm-hmm. But for me, more importantly than just having nice teeth is that I have been a grinder of my teeth since I was a kid. When I was a kid, I used to get lockjaw, to where I would be in my sleep and I would be grinding my teeth so hard that I would have this like subconscious lock happen on my jaw that would essentially have my teeth like unable to separate themselves from the upper and the lower. And it was just like actually very painful and very trippy. But since I've been using the retainer, there's like way less wear from the grinding. I don't have these lockjaw tendencies. I also do a host of other like, stress mitigating protocols. But when I was a stressed out little kid, for whatever reason, it would manifest in tooth grinding and nighttime like lockjaw. Yeah. And having a retainer has been like wildly helpful for that.
Yeah.
And I think that people don't even realize how much they're grinding. But if you've ever woken up and you felt like, man, my jaw's kind of tired, or like, why do my teeth feel weird when I'm eating breakfast? Like almost like I've been using them or like something.
Sensitive. Sometimes your teeth will feel like bruised.
Totally.
Like when you chew. Yeah. And I have a bonus here.
Bonus number 6
that I couldn't leave out, but we have an episode that goes deeper into this. But the bonus tip, is to get the mercury out of your mouth, meaning the silver fillings, the mercury silver amalgam fillings. You don't want those in your mouth. You guys, mercury is one of the most toxic substances on the planet. And just to give a quick example, if you were to take out an average mercury amalgam filling from the mouth and chuck it in a 5-mile long lake, that whole lake would be considered toxic.
Wow.
And they would have to come in and get Fish and Game to go down and fish that little filling out.
Nuts.
Because that's how toxic it is. So
damn.
How is this still allowed to be in the mouth? I think more and more dentists are aware of this, but there are certainly still offices out there that are still using mercury amalgam fillings. Would absolutely not recommend them for kids or anyone really. But we go deep into this topic in episode 79. So I wanted to mention it, but if you want to know more, definitely check out that episode, and I give you some tips on how to find a dentist that can take them out safely.
Cool.
Because there is a specific protocol for taking them out, you want a holistic or biologic dentist that has the training to do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just going to be inhaling the mercury through the normal like evacuation systems that traditional dentists have.
Yeah, I remember Dr. Val Cantor going into great detail about that on an earlier episode. So if you haven't listened to those dental health episodes, check them out. Just a reminder, that is episode 79, 84, and 94 that you can go back and find. There's a lot more as it pertains to oral and dental health in those episodes. But just to recap what we've been through, the 5 pro tips for a healthier mouth. 1, floss daily for whiter teeth and, more importantly, a longer life. 2, support your internal invisible toothbrushing system. When you support your gut, aka your diet, your lifestyle, you will be supporting your mouth. 3, tape your mouth when you sleep. Again, the brand that we've been loving is Lunasol, Lunasol. Discount code is medicine, just the way it's spelled in this podcast. Number 4, don't use your teeth as tools, Chase. 5, retain your teeth. Get yourself a retainer if you do not have one. And then the bonus, get that mercury out of your goddamn mouth. All right, guys, that is halfway through the episode. We're going to get to our Q&A. But first, I got to ask, if you're loving the Medicine Podcast, we are encouraging everybody to go to YouTube. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and give us a subscribe. We would much appreciate it. And then even if you are an audio-only listener, if you have a comment, feedback, question, jump into the latest episode, because all of them, most of them, 99% of them, are showing up as videos these days. And if you could give us a like or a comment, that would be much appreciated. 1, we just want to be able to interact with our audience and our listeners so much more. But 2, it like helps grow our YouTube channel, which we're definitely trying to grow and lean into more for 2024, because it's really such a great place to have long form content and you'll be able to see our beautiful faces. So that would be much, much appreciated. Search the Medicine Podcast on YouTube. You'll see a host of shorts and clips, but then every single episode full length goes into the YouTube channel as well. So much appreciated. Thanks for the love. We'll be getting to our Q&A now. So we got a ton of questions.
Yeah, we did.
Just a ton. And I'm not sure we'll be able to answer all of them, but we did our best. And when I say we, I mean you did your best, because you put all of these together.
I spent 2 days getting all of these answers together in some coherent fashion.
Yeah, so this is free 99 information that is honestly what you would pay hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to get elsewhere. So huge props to Mimi. Let's jump in. First question. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Let's hear your daily protocols. Look at those chompers. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. What do you have to do to have a perfectly white smile? Your teeth are perfection. Wow. This person, I better watch out.
It was a woman.
Okay. What are your must-dos every day? And we have a really similar protocol, so I'll let you just take the lead on explaining this, but mine's pretty much the same.
And again, these were Instagram comments. So just so you know, and I kind of sorted them with similar questions. I kind of grouped them together. So this was actually 3 different questions of people wanting to know what our daily protocols looked like.
Yeah.
So, all right. Upon waking, I peel my Lunasol mouth tape off my mouth, go into the bathroom. The first thing I do is take out my retainers, actually, and give them a little brush with my just water and toothbrush, my Sonicare.
Side note, if you are using the toothpaste that we will be recommending, Living Libations, that shit will keep your retainers so clean.
Yeah, when you use it at night, the neem toothpaste.
Just by brushing your teeth and then putting your retainers in before you go to bed, your retainers will be clean. Mine were yellowing, and seemingly unavoidable yellowing, despite brushing and other cleaning modalities. Started using this toothpaste, and they looked like brand new.
Yeah, aside from that, also we wake up with like 10% of the morning breath that we used to have.
Right.
So, so take out my retainers, I give them a brush, and then I scrape my tongue first thing, using
with your fingernails?
No. Can you imagine?
I got a visual and it was funny and I could not say it.
I think of like Ace Ventura when he finds out that, what's her name? The lady
Finkel.
Yeah, Finkel, Ray Finkel. That it's actually a man. He's like, ah. Okay, side note. So I use a copper tongue scraper. You don't want to use plastic. Use steel or copper. Those are definitely preferred. I am pulling forward towards the tip of my tongue, probably 8 or 10 times, just removing all the plaque and buildup on my tongue. If you guys don't know this, like if you were to look at your tongue under a microscope, it looks like shag carpet. There are these tiny little like hairs. Projections, like basically hairs, and they're standing up, and plaque and bacteria gets in all of these little projections. And if you are not scraping your tongue, you're probably going to have worse breath. You're definitely going to have more inflammation in the mouth, just plaque building up where it shouldn't be. And it can actually change the taste of your food because it's blocking certain, like your taste buds, basically your taste receptors. So absolutely 100% of people should be scraping their tongue, and it takes 10 seconds. So I don't know why people don't do it, but I think some people just don't know that it's like something that you absolutely should be doing. Mm-hmm. So after I scrape my tongue, I brush my teeth with no toothpaste, just water for about a minute. And I'm basically just loosening up any plaque or any debris or anything that's built up overnight. And I know some people don't like to brush before they have coffee. And if you just brush with water, you're removing the plaque and bacteria that coffee will stick to. But if you just use water, it won't like change the taste of any coffee or any morning elixirs that you have. So that's definitely a pro tip as well for whitening. And then, so after breakfast, I do a full brush with my Sonicare. Full brush meaning at least 2 minutes. You should not be going less than 2 minutes. And I use Living Libations toothpaste. I use the triple mint enamelizer toothpaste. This has nanohydroxyapatite in it, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And all of these products that we're going to be talking about are listed on our medicine cabinet on our website, and they'll also be in the show notes. Throughout the day, so I brush in the morning with this triple mint toothpaste, and then I'm usually during the day flossing after meals if needed, if I can feel that food is stuck, at least once a day, usually sometimes twice a day for flossing. And then throughout the day, I'm also sipping on our water from our spigot, our structured water, but I put a little pinch of salt in there just to make sure that I'm bathing my teeth in water that's neutralizing any acids that might build up with food or coffee, things like that. So I'm sipping on that water throughout the day. I usually have a midday brush at some point with Living Libations. Usually I'm using like the tooth polish powder or the Happy Gumdrops serum. I just put a drop of it on my toothpaste, get a quick brush midday. And then also before bed, I'm doing a full 2 to 3 minute brush. I'm flossing using our Burst Oral Care floss or the electric flosser. And then I use Super Floss under my lingual bar. So I have a bar behind my front teeth down here on the bottom that keeps them straight. And so I'm flossing underneath that with what's called Super Floss. It just has like an reinforced end that threads underneath that bar. And so the main products I want to point out that I use, Sonicare. I am a Sonicare girl through and through. You guys, I've tried so many toothbrushes. You definitely should be using an electric toothbrush for sure. Anything that has an on-off button is going to be more effective than a manual toothbrush. It's just the way that it is. I know some people like to be super crunchy in this. I've tried a lot and I always come back to Sonicare. It's delivering 31,000 brush strokes per minute. You cannot do that with your hand. It's also through the water and saliva in your mouth. It's sending these sonic waves and breaking up plaque from underneath the gum line. I've not tried any electric toothbrush that's better than Sonicare. I'm not affiliated with them. I wish that they paid me. Maybe I can become an affiliate.
It's like, you know how Rogue for gym equipment is like just hands down the best.
Just the OG.
It's just the best.
It is.
That's what Sonicare is.
Yeah.
And like there may be some sort of like corporate capture where I don't know enough about the Sonicare or the Rogue, but sometimes the biggest brands, like, damn it, they make good products.
Yeah, seriously. I've tried a lot of other electric toothbrushes, and there's a lot of like fancy kind of natural crunchy ones out there. They do not work as well. So we use all Living Libations tooth products. So the powder, the serums, the swishing oil, and did I say toothpaste? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then we use floss from Burst Oral Care, which I've mentioned, and then Super Floss. So those are the products that we use. And then the electric slate flosser. Here's some brushing pro tips that your hygienist may or may not have shared with you. You want to angle your bristles towards the gum line, wherever you're at in your mouth. You want the bristles to be half on the tooth and half on the gum. So if I'm brushing down below, they're angling down towards the gum line. If I'm brushing up above, they're angling up towards the gum line. You really want to get the gum line, not just the teeth. And one of the other benefits of using an electric toothbrush is it has a timer. Usually, like the Sonicare has a 2-minute timer where it'll just turn off after 2 minutes. When you're using a manual, you get 30 seconds in and it feels like 2 minutes, right? And so
it gives you little 30-second notifications so that you can do the quads of your mouth.
Yes, exactly. So every 30 seconds, it kind of buzzes. It kind of like pauses for a second, and that's to help you move to another area of the mouth, kind of to make sure that you're getting every area evenly. So I do the upper outer teeth, then I move to the inner upper teeth. So like the inside surfaces where my tongue touches, and then I move to the bottom for 30 seconds and do the outside of my bottom teeth, and then the inside of the bottom teeth, and then usually about another minute just kind of everywhere. So I know I'm getting everything evenly. And you do not need to push hard, you guys. This toothbrush is doing all the work for you. Your bristles should not be splaying out.
That's a huge tip you gave me a long time ago. Was I just brushed too hard and I would just wreck the toothbrushes that I had. And you were like, bro, stop. You're going to wreck your teeth. You're going to wear off the enamel of your teeth. And you gave me this little tip where only use your pointer finger and your thumb to hold the toothbrush. Yeah. And that's about how hard you need to press against your teeth. And it's been really, really helpful, even though I still sometimes get carried away. I got big lips and I got big cheeks. And so there's kind of a level of effort that I have to go to get in the back of my teeth that like the toothbrush has to basically hold up these weighted lips that I've got, and it makes the force onto my teeth a little bit harder.
Yeah. So great segue, because there are some areas of the mouth that are harder to reach that I feel like I've said this 1,000 times with my different patients through the years, like really focusing on these specific areas that are harder to reach. So if you have a hard time reaching these areas, by default, if you're not thinking about it while you're brushing, you're not hitting those areas as much. So these areas include the distal molars. So like your molars in the back, your big teeth in the back, behind there, like really getting behind the tooth is an area where people miss a lot. Lingual surfaces, so on the inside where your tongue touches. So like down here on the inside, like if you take your tongue right now and slide around the gum line on the inside of your mouth, like it might feel a little fuzzy. It's because you're probably not hitting that area as well. And then lower lingual, so like right in front here on the inside of your like the floor of your mouth. That's where a lot of people get the most buildup. One, because there's a big salivary gland down there, but also it's just really hard to get to. So like if you're using a toothbrush, it's got to be like this, basically, like to get that area down there. So just think about it while you're brushing. Think about these areas that are a little harder to reach. That's pretty good on the brushing pro tips. Did I miss anything?
The only thing I thought of was, why don't you use mouth rinse?
That's a good question. So I don't use mouth rinse because most are just crap, honestly. There's probably some out there that are better than others, but like most of the commercial, just like in the grocery store or drugstore are going to be alcohol based, which you do not want. Alcohol dries out your tissues, like that stinging feeling from Listerine. It feels like, ooh, so fresh and clean. No, that's because the alcohol is literally like burning your tissues and drying it out. I would not recommend alcohol rinses for anyone. Once in a while, like maybe before a dental surgery or something is fine, but every day, absolutely not. Yeah. I swish with ASEA, which is the product that we've talked about before. I rinse with salty water. We also have a swishing serum from Living Libations that I will swish around my mouth. But if you want to swish with something, do oil pulling.
I think those are, these are all extra. You laid out the foundational pieces here, and I agree. All right, moving on to the next question.
Let's do it.
What can you do when the dentist tells you you have periodontal disease and you will have it forever?
So periodontal disease, I'll just call it perio, again, is when the bacteria builds up and start to degrade the bone structure and the connective tissue around your teeth, as opposed to just gingivitis, which is just in the gums. So this person, she said that her dentist told her that she has periodontal disease and she'll have it forever. And I would have to be like in the room hearing the conversation. But periodontitis is a disease state, and it is, although the bone levels, if you've lost bone, they're probably not going to grow back. That's why you really need to hang on to all the bone that you have in your mouth and prevent this from starting in the first place. But once your doctor or your dentist has told you, like, hey, we need to do a deep cleaning. That's usually what happens is they say, okay, you have these deeper pockets. You have some calculus built up underneath the gums. We need to do a deeper cleaning. You definitely should do that if your doctor is recommending it. Once they do that deeper cleaning, from there, if you maintain pristine oral health routine at home and you go in for your regular appointments and get your cleaning done, there's no reason that you will be in a continued disease state, right? Yeah. So it's not a flip of a switch. It takes some time to heal the mouth, but periodontitis is not a disease state that you'll be living in forever if you are doing the work to maintain the health of your mouth after you get that deeper cleaning.
Don't use my words as any sort of medical advice, but in our own life, my dad had periodontal disease when I was a kid and through high school, and he ended up having a deep cleaning. They actually cut the gums back in certain spots and did, a super deep cleaning.
That's like the next level, like surgery.
Right.
Where you can do it surgically or non-surgically.
But I will say, and then he, basically adopted all protocols that you recommended for him. And the guy's got like great teeth.
Yeah.
Bad breath is like gone.
Yeah.
So hearing that a doctor says you're going to have this forever is like, damn, dude, can you at least say you will have this forever if you don't like take action or, have some level of, remediation or lifestyle change? But that does seem pretty like doomsday.
The only thing I can say is if the doctor was talking about the lost bone.
Right.
That is pretty accurate. Like, you're not going to grow a bunch of bone back from in between the teeth. And you go from having like just a prophylactic cleaning to now what's called a perio maintenance.
Right.
Which, yeah, that's changed now forever, is you kind of just go to the perio maintenance. But no, improve your hygiene at home, go in for your regular cleanings, take all this education and advice to heart, and you will not be in a disease state forever.
Love it. Oil pulling, oil pulling is something that's gotten quite popular in holistic health spaces. And I think it's even rooted in like Ayurvedic medicine, but it's this practice of swishing oil around in the mouth for a, specific amount of time, usually in the morning or before eating or something along those lines. And it's supposed to have all these, benefits, the supporting, the cleaning of bacteria and things of that nature. And the question is, does oil pulling work?
Yeah, so you said it. Oil pulling is an ancient practice rooted in Ayurvedic medicine that involves swishing oil in the mouth for, a few minutes. Some go all the way up to 15 to 20 minutes. And it depends. So it's a great practice, but when you say, does it work? It depends on what you mean. What does it work for? So is it going to reverse a large cavity? Probably not. But it does have a ton of benefits. I don't do it super regularly. We use the swishing oil from Living Libations, honestly, just because I don't really think about it. Like I like it, but it's just not part of my daily routine, but I have nothing against it. I think if it works for you and you like it, absolutely do it. So some of the benefits: it can remove bacteria and debris in the mouth. It can help with bad breath. It helps stimulate the gums, helps with blood flow. It's anti-inflammatory, and it can help with alleviation of dry mouth. It's overall a great supplement to your hygiene routine.
I would say
home.
Alongside some of these other,
Right.
big rocks that we've articulated.
It's a supplement, not a substitute for things like brushing or flossing.
Yeah.
So if you're someone who likes to rinse with like an alcohol-based rinse, I would switch to oil pulling. So to do this, you want to use a tablespoon of oil. Usually it's coconut or sesame. I've never done it with sesame. I like coconut better. You let the oil literally just melt in your mouth, and you just swish it around all different parts, swish it through your teeth. They say up to 15 or 20 minutes. I've never done 20 minutes because your cheeks get so tired. So that is absolutely gangster if you can do 20 minutes, but just start with a couple minutes and work your way up. When you spit it out, you want to spit into the trash, not down the sink, so you don't clog your pipes. And then you want to rinse your mouth out with some water. So does it work? Yes, there are a ton of benefits as a supplement, not a substitute.
Love it. Next question is about postpartum dental care. My teeth feel noticeably more sensitive, and I'm worried I could be getting cavities. So ways to build enamel or strengthen teeth. Mine thinned during my 2 pregnancies and now look like I need to whiten, but it's because they're so thin you can see through them a bit. How do I remineralize my teeth? My enamel is fading so fast on my front teeth. Help.
Yeah. So first and foremost, the best thing to remineralize your teeth is your own saliva. So we want to make sure that we're doing all of these things that we've talked about previously in the episode to help keep the saliva alkaline. It's not even alkaline. It's just neutral. Saliva has a pH of about 7, which is the same as water. But depending on the health of your mouth, saliva can be remineralizing or demineralizing. If you tend to have an acidic type of saliva, it's going to be demineralizing your teeth. Quote here by Nadine Artemis: if saliva is too acidic, it dissolves the enamel on your teeth and creates an environment that supports bacteria. So to alkalize your saliva, you need to optimize your gut health, which we've talked about at length here. So focusing on whole foods as much as possible, rich in minerals and vitamins E, D3, A, K2, and the best sources for a lot of these vitamins and minerals is animal products. So I don't know who this person was, but if you've been vegan or vegetarian, or just maybe you're just restrictive in your food patterns, then you could be missing some key nutrients that is blocking the total the mineralization process of your teeth.
Well, and acidic saliva comes from an acidic lifestyle, and stress is actually acidic to the body. If you consume a lot of caffeine, if you consume a lot of sugar, if you've been through a stressful state in your life, and pregnancies can absolutely be that.
Yeah.
So even just considering what diet and lifestyle factors may be contributing even to stress, because it will manifest in a more acidic body. If you read the book How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy by Paul Chek, he talks a lot about sort of yin and yang principles of lifestyle and diet, and stress dietary actions a lot of times involve consuming something in excess that's too acidic without having the complementary balance that neutralizes that acid, and I would imagine contributes even in this scenario to the saliva itself.
Yes. This is specifically around, this question is specific around postpartum. And there was another one that was talking about during pregnancy, she noticed that her teeth were not doing great. And this is really common. So when I was a hygienist, I would recommend to all my pregnant patients to come in every 4 months for a cleaning, because there's just a lot going on in the body when you're pregnant and creating a child. And if you are low in minerals, your baby will pull minerals from your teeth and your bones. This is well known. And so this is one reason why the health of the teeth can really be affected during pregnancy. Also, there's just hormonal changes. There's stress going on. We know that hormone shifts and stress really impacts the hypothalamic parotid gland axis that we talked about. So this becomes even that much more important for you to really be honed in on your diet and making sure that you're getting a plethora of these nutrients, these vitamins and minerals. And so you really want to limit processed foods and fermentable carbohydrates, sugary snacks, candy, cakes, cookies, most kids' snacks, goldfish, sugary drinks, juice, soda, breakfast cereals, etc. You want to optimize your stomach acids so that you are actually able to break down the food and absorb and metabolize the nutrients that you're taking in. So you need optimal stomach acid there. Maybe look into some digestive enzymes. If your gut health is off, this is definitely going to affect your teeth, like we've talked about. And you want to use a hydroxyapatite toothpaste daily for sure, probably multiple times a day. And I would definitely be sipping on structured spring water with a little pinch of salt in there, like I talked about, in between. You really want to limit like the drinks, the acidic drinks, sugary drinks, even coffee, being acidic.
Or even like I consume coffee with a straw to bypass my teeth, so that I actually put the straw in my mouth. The coffee goes through the straw, bypasses the teeth and directly down into my body. So that helps with whiter teeth too. It helps from keeping coffee to stain your teeth, but that could be something as well. If you can't cut coffee out altogether, which I totally get it, maybe a straw.
Yeah. So definitely use nanohydroxyapatite toothpaste daily, and I would say without glycerin. And there's like this whole big debate about glycerin in the dental world. Is it okay as an ingredient in toothpaste or is it not? It's basically like a humectant. It's a moisturizer in a lot of different things, specifically one of them being toothpaste. It makes it really slick and smooth in the tube, and it helps it from drying out in the tube. Some say it's fine. Some say that it actually blocks the pores in your enamel so that the natural invisible toothbrush can't push that dentinal fluid out like it's supposed to. Nadine Artemis, who wrote this book, definitely says no glycerin whatsoever. That's why none of the Living Libations products have glycerin in them, because I'm not really convinced one way or another. But we also know that glycerin is not therapeutic in any way. It's literally just for a texture thing. So if I don't know for sure, I'm going to err on the side of caution and choose products because I love them and they work. They're super high quality. I'd rather just choose products that don't have glycerin in them. And I would say, during pregnancy, be so freaking meticulous with your oral hygiene at home care. Like, I cannot stress that enough, because the more plaque that's sitting on your teeth, the more it's going to affect your body and your mouth, and your body's already doing so much in pregnancy. So really dialing in your home care routine is of the utmost importance while you're trying to conceive, during pregnancy, and then after.
Yeah, really good. Okay, moving on to the next one. Do you have to actually go every 6 months to get a cleaning? Also, what things should you avoid at the dentist that aren't good for you? Example, I always say no to fluoride, but I've heard also that you should say no to polish. Hope that makes sense. Also, love your guys' pod so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So she's asking, do you actually have to go to the dentist every 6 months for a cleaning?
Yeah.
And then, what should you say no to, things that aren't good for you? And my answer depends on how stellar your home hygiene routine is.
If you have insurance for it, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have dental insurance and you're covered for 2 cleanings a year and an exam, absolutely take advantage of it. There's nothing that's going to it's only going to benefit you for sure. So my recommendation, my experience from being a dental hygienist, it was really far and few and far between.
There you go.
There you go. Few and far between patients who could go longer than 6 months, and they would come in and be like, "Oh wow, you look great." Like usually every 6 months is when people really need their teeth cleaned. A very, very few patients, you being one of them, you could go a year if you really have a dialed in routine at home. And if you are like, when they do the perio readings on your teeth, when they go like 3, 2, 3, 3, 4, 3, 1, 2, like when they're doing those readings, they're basically getting a read on how healthy your gums are. And the more inflamed they are, the deeper the pockets, so the higher the numbers will be. So you want low numbers as much as possible. So if your perio readings are like 1s, 2s, and 3s consistently, and your hygienist is telling you, giving you great feedback, "You're doing such a great job. I barely have anything to clean. Like you're my, easy patient." Or you can just ask, if they're not offering that information, like, "Hey, what do you think if I came in every year, what do you think that would look like? Do you think I could get away with that?" And, if you were asking me as a hygienist, I would be straight with you. I would be totally honest. If you were one of the 3% of patients that could get away with it, I would say like, yeah, come in every year. You'd be fine. You're so good at home. And the other thing is, if you are low risk for decay, if you haven't had a cavity in years and you've been going to the dentist regularly, then I think it's fine to push out. But if you are prone to decay and you have a cavity, you have a high risk of cavities, I would say you definitely need to be going in every 6 months. Some people even go in, every 3 to 4 months just because they like the feeling of getting their teeth cleaned. I personally, I go in every 6 months because I love the feeling of getting my teeth cleaned. But I once went, just recently before I had my dentist like established, I was cleaning my own teeth and I went 3 years without a cleaning. Yeah. I mean, granted, I have my own tools and I'm doing it myself. It's not the same, but I went 3 years and I was absolutely fine. You've been, over a year and you've been totally fine. But our hygiene routine is on point.
Yeah.
I would not recommend that for anyone who doesn't have a stellar at-home routine. As for what to say no to at the dentist, there's a plethora of what they can give you at the dentist. It depends on what you're having done, of course. But if this is just a regular cleaning, definitely if this was me, I would definitely say no to any fluoride treatments. I'm not a fan of fluoride. You can say no to the old school polish. That's like the little like round rubber cup that they use and the little like paste that comes in the little circle or whatever. It's like root beer flavored or grape or strawberry. Yeah. That has fluoride in it. So those pastes do. So you can say no or yes. I mean, having a little bit of fluoride is not going to kill you. If you like the polish, great, do it. But you can say no to the polish if you don't want any fluoride. But they do have systems for polishing the teeth. It's called an air powder polisher, where they might use something like sodium bicarbonate or glycine or like a mixture of powders. I love that feeling. That's my favorite part of getting a cleaning. So I definitely recommend those. Those are great. Definitely want to say no to any mercury fillings. Any conventional x-rays that are not digital, I would not use. I would only go to a dentist that was using digital x-rays. And even then, I ask for the minimum possible x-rays. So I get, what's called bite wings once every couple of years because I know that I'm low risk for everything, but I still want the dentist looking in between my teeth. And the only way that they can do that is with an x-ray or, a little machine called a CariView machine. So that's kind of what I say no to. But honestly, you can say no to anything. Anything you don't feel great about, you can say no.
Yeah.
No, thank you is a complete sentence.
Totally. All right. We're going to rapid fire through a few more because we've got a lot to get through. I have a crease/indent in the middle of my 2 front teeth within the last year and have no idea what could be causing this. I drink cholestyramine for mold detox. Could that cause it?
Yeah, so I didn't know what this was. I had to look it up. I looked up the side effects of cholestyramine. I don't really know how to say it. And one of the side effects is interference with nutrient absorption. It says cholestyramine can interfere with the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K, and other nutrients. Supplemental vitamins may be recommended by a healthcare provider to address potential deficiencies. So right when you look up the side effects of this, I don't know if it's a medication or if it's a supplement, but it's literally blocking the absorption of A, D, E, and K, which are the exact vitamins that I was telling people to focus on. So it could be that. Obviously, there's no way for me to know for sure, but if I were you, and if you don't absolutely have to take this, maybe go off of it and see if your teeth look or feel any different. If you absolutely need to stay on this for mold detox, I would definitely think about supplementing with these vitamins. But again, it's interfering with the absorption of these nutrients that are critical. So if it was me, I would try to maybe find a substitute if there was another way to detox from mold.
Definitely, if you have a practitioner that you trust or the person who's supporting you through the mold detox, bring this up, ask these questions.
Yeah, totally.
Ask them to point you in the right direction. Last resort, in my opinion, is always like trying to find somebody on message boards and things like that, which I know can be helpful, but it's also the wild, wild west out there. So appreciate the question, and definitely consult someone who's very well versed in these things.
But yeah, I would also talk to your doctor to make sure that it's not like a crack or something.
Sure. Yeah.
Because it's hard to know over just a comment on Instagram.
Tongue ties in adults and the impact it can have on one person's life if left untreated.
Yeah, so I'm definitely not an expert on tongue ties, but I've seen plenty of them. There can be tongue ties or lingual ties. It's basically just the connective tissue that holds your tongue down. So like on the floor of your mouth, that little like dangly thing that keeps it from like free floating in your mouth. Sometimes that can be really short in people. And when that's short, they can't like stick their tongue out all the way. They can't lift their tongue to the roof of their mouth. It can impair speech. It can also tug on other ligaments like in the neck, that insert on different, like in different areas in the neck and the chest. So, and this is a really big thing right now on social media in the kind of breastfeeding space and child development space, because tongue ties in infants can cause a lot of problems with breastfeeding and speech and stuff. And so, but she specifically asks for adults. Definitely as an adult, it can really hinder the way that you say certain words or letters, breathing problems, chewing, and the manipulation of food. It can contribute to TMJ issues, and even your ability to fully activate and stabilize your cervical spine. So if you have a severe tongue tie and you can't lift your tongue to the roof of your mouth, like, and hold it there, this is actually interfering with your, believe it or not, your ability to stabilize, activate your core and stabilize your cervical spine, which is critically important for anyone, but especially active people playing sports, or even just like lifting up a child, or, any sort of like resistance or weight training for sure.
Yep. Yeah. That arena is fascinating, the way that this is all connected.
Yeah. If you think you might have a tongue tie as an adult, definitely get it confirmed by like a holistic or even a general dentist can let you know if you do have a tongue tie, or oral surgeon. You can have a consult with an oral surgeon. If you feel like it's impacting your life, it's an easy, like, you just snip it. They just snip it basically, and it heals in like a week. It's you might have to relearn how to say specific words and letters, but you can get it. There's also work you can do like with a chiropractor, or like soft tissue release that they say can release a tongue tie, but I think that's mostly for just kids. But if you want to go deep on tongue ties, there's a whole podcast dedicated to tongue ties. It's called Tongue Tie Experts Podcast with Lisa Palladino, who is a midwife and lactation consultant. So I'm sure they can go way more in depth on this topic than I can. But if I had a tongue tie, I would probably get it released.
Love it.
Yeah.
Is it important to have straight teeth?
This answer is really easy for me.
Yeah.
Yes, it's important, without a doubt, 100% in my opinion. Teeth that are in proper alignment, one, are easier to clean, right? They're just easier when things are lined up better. One, for me as the person with the teeth, but then also your hygienist or dentist that's cleaning your teeth.
Alignment is the word that I like.
Yeah.
Straight, it's like, it almost seems like aesthetic related, but
yeah.
Alignment. Think about how important the consistent process of chewing and talking.
Yeah.
That shit's got to be smooth,
Absolutely.
baby.
Yeah, absolutely. One tooth out here or there, like rotated a little bit or just like a little bit of crowding is not going to kill you. It's not horrible, obviously. But having perfectly aligned teeth has so many benefits. Cleaning is easier. You're less likely to have chips and wear on your teeth in areas where you shouldn't. TMJ issues. Your arch on your teeth, so like how big your arch is, where your teeth actually sit, if that's very narrow and crowded, then you might have problems breathing. It restricts your airway. Like there's just so many problems that come with having with malocclusion. So if all of these things are important to you, then yes, having aligned teeth is important, and it's definitely important to me.
Definitely.
We will definitely be making sure that our kid has aligned teeth.
It's definitely healthy.
Yes.
Next one. I read the book 12 Essential Minerals for Cellular Health, An Introduction to Cell Salts by David R. Card. The book goes over one of the essential salts for our bone and teeth, which is calc fluor, Calcarea fluorica. Do you know how I can get this supplement naturally? I'm asking because my teeth keep breaking with translucent tips. I always find myself at the dentist getting drilled once more for some sort of cavity. I really would like to preserve my teeth and get rid of the sensitivity that I have towards cold. Thank you so much. Love you, Chase, for all you do. I always feel your energy through the podcast and feel your warm hearts. God, I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I feel your warm heart too.
So she's referencing this book about cell salts, and she's specifically asking about this calc fluor or Calcarea fluorica. I didn't know much about this. I had heard of it, but I didn't really know much about it enough to answer a question, so I had to go digging. And I'm going to pull an excerpt from the book by Nadine Artemis, Holistic Dental Care. She actually talks about it in here. She says, calc fluor is indicated for poor tooth enamel, sensitive teeth, decay, and weakened elasticity of tissue. I have experienced the effectiveness of calc fluor firsthand. After a few passionate weeks of ingesting fresh wild bee pollen, I discovered that because the bee pollen was slightly acidic, it had affected my tooth enamel. Luckily, I ran into my naturopathic doctor friend and found that she had had a similar experience. She advised swishing with 3 or 4 tablets of calc fluor cell salts and water. I'm happy to report that my enamel was back to normal in 3 days. So this is a homeopathic remedy for sensitivity, for decay. I have never personally used it, so I cannot speak to it directly, but it sounds like Nadine Artemis is a fan. And she, you can literally just Google calc fluor and find a brand that has these little tablets. So she put them in water and then swished with this water for a few days. That sounds like it's a good option. But, is it absolutely necessary? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if it's absolutely necessary. I think you're better off really focusing on the minerals that we've talked about, focusing on your diet, using hydroxyapatite toothpaste regularly every day. Is there malocclusion going on? Because she says that I'm asking because my teeth keep breaking with translucent tips. So the first question, if I was talking to her in person, I would say, are you or have you been vegan or vegetarian? Maybe get some blood work done and look at where these vitamins are at for you, or get
what about
a hair
like other
tissue.
medications too?
Yeah, could totally be medications that affect teeth. So it's hard to say what's causing the breaking and the translucent tips, but I would definitely, look at your minerals and vitamins, maybe to get a hair tissue mineral analysis.
Yeah, we're doing an episode upcoming about hair analysis for mineral feedback, and so that might be a really good option. Next question. I'm gonna answer this one because I can, and I'll give you a second to drink some water because you've been on long talking here. Great work. What is the best way to clean mouth guards / retainers? Well, we talked about the toothpaste that we use, and if you leave a little bit of that toothpaste on your teeth, like don't swish your mouth out after you're done brushing completely and then put your retainers on, or you can even take a little bit after you rinse your mouth out if you don't like the idea of using the brushed liquids and leftovers from your toothpaste and you just want to rinse it out. You can actually dip your toothbrush back in the toothpaste a little bit and just put a little on your teeth before you go to bed, put your retainers on, and I swear if you're using Living Libations toothpaste, it will clean your retainer for you. Of course, first thing in the morning, brush your retainer when you take it out. I think that's like the easiest one with your toothbrush. You can get cleaning crystals from a dentist or an orthodontist. You can probably find a host of clean soaks on even Amazon. But you could make your own solution for free $99. Baking soda or 3% hydrogen peroxide mixed with equal parts water.
Which I guess isn't free, but it's cheap.
It's cheap, right. And you can just soak for 20 or 30 minutes and then brush it off. I've used that one a ton and no issues. And the reality is like some buildup, some deterioration of the retainer is just inevitable.
It is. I have a little bit on mine and I brush them every day, clean them regularly, and I have a, pristine mouth.
Yeah, honestly,
still happens.
The best thing for my retainers has been switching to Living Libations toothpaste.
Holler.
Crazy. Okay, I feel like my dentist is pushing me to get my wisdom teeth out. Why do we have them as humans if we need to pull them out is the question.
Yeah.
Like, isn't nature supposed to be perfect?
Yeah.
I appreciate the nature of the question.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's one that I got a lot in practice. Wisdom teeth are named such wisdom teeth because they erupt around 17 to 20 years old. So they're coming in later in life. And the function of this is to replace any lost molars. So your first molars that erupt, they come in around 12 years old. Well, go back 1,000 years before dentists exist and all of that. If people had like an infected tooth or if they've had bone loss or whatever, they probably are losing teeth earlier in life. So if you have lost a tooth, then this like tooth comes in to save the day later in life when you're a teenager or early 20s. So that's great by evolution, right? But with our improved modern dentistry and Sonicare toothbrushes, most people are not losing their teeth just outright, right? Like most people have their teeth. So we don't need our wisdom teeth. And so what happens is if you have all your teeth and a wisdom tooth tries to come in, most people just don't have space for 32 teeth in their arch, right? Some people might, but it's very, very few people that I've ever seen have enough space to fit 32 teeth, including their third molars or their wisdom teeth. So oftentimes they come in at weird angles. So if there's one tooth that's sitting like this, the wisdom tooth will come behind it and like kind of sit like this, and it's not erupting all the way, or it might erupt like this. And so this is a problem because one, they're really hard to reach. They're super hard to clean for you and your hygienist. So what happens is bacteria builds up around these wisdom teeth for a lot of people, causes gingivitis and bone loss around this area, and it can actually spread decay to the other teeth adjacent to it. So unless you have enough room in your mouth for your wisdom teeth and you can reach them well with a toothbrush and keep them really clean, and your dentist and hygienist says like, yeah, you're actually doing a really good job of keeping your third molars or your wisdom teeth really clean. Wow, this is amazing. Sure, keep them. But that's not the case for most people. So I would recommend getting them out unless you've gotten that go ahead from your dentist. But I understand the nature of the question. Why does everyone pull them out if they're there? Is there a reason that they're there? And it is to replace teeth. Before we had Sonicares.
Yeah, that's great. I wish male pattern baldness would come up with a similar solution. Thanks, nature. I guess we don't need our hairlines as much as we do our teeth. Receding gum lines in my mid-20s despite flossing, using Living Libations toothpaste and swishing with coconut oil. I've noticed my gums have been receding since I have started Sure Smile, which I think is like an Invisalign type or like an alignment service where you're using clear retainers to straighten your teeth. What can I do to remedy this? I've got 6 more months to go. One, I appreciate the question. Recession on your gum line is something I've dealt with myself, likely from the hard brushing that I've talked about earlier. But then even just actively brushing and flossing, there's going to be some level of recession that's going on. Getting older just in general, one of the things that I've noticed the most in my 30s is that I get shit stuck in my teeth more. Mm-hmm. And it's because there's some level of just natural aging and recession.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what do you think?
Yeah, I think, well, she says that she's in her 20s. Mm-hmm. So that is pretty early to see a recession. So a few potential causes, and I don't know what's causing yours. I would need to go in and have an exam to really put the pieces together for you. But brushing too hard, if you're not using an electric toothbrush, soft bristled, absolutely recommend that. Do not use anything but soft for everyone out there. Star, underline, bold. Do not use any type of brush other than soft or extra soft. Don't use medium. Don't use hard. It will just wear away your gums so fast. If your teeth are out of alignment, sometimes when teeth hit where they shouldn't be, that can actually start to recede the gum line. It starts scooting down because it's essentially like a traumatic event that's happening every day. Short lingual frenum. So if you have like a frenum down here, connective tissue that's too short, it can pull on the gums. Flossing aggressively or in the wrong way can cause some recession. Certainly grinding and clenching. If you have a tongue piercing or lip piercing or any parafunctional activity that we talked about, like biting your nails or, that kind of stuff. Also moving the teeth too quickly with orthodontia can cause some recession. And like Chase said, age. So if anything there resonates, you can ask me further questions, but I just don't know what is causing the recession. It could be any one of these things. So think about that for yourself. But, and then the other question with the woman who was noticing some recession with, she's doing like an Invisalign type. As teeth are shifting in the mouth with orthodontia, sometimes that includes a little bit of recession, but it's not actually recession. It's that if a tooth is sitting, here's a straight tooth, here's a tooth that's sitting like maybe like this, or it's crooked in some way. Once they erect that tooth to where now it's aligned, there's a chance that the gums could recede a little bit. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
When you're literally moving the tooth, the gums can be affected. Not that there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that your tooth is in a new position, and that means that the gums are also in a new position on the tooth. So I saw this a lot in practice. People would be like, oh my God, what's happening? And it's like, it's literally just because we straightened that tooth, that now more of the tooth structure,
it's like a
more
new
of the
feeling.
root structure is showing. So if you still have 6 months to go, your teeth are still going to be moving and shifting around. So you may see some of that level out. But again, I would focus on all the things that I just talked about with the other question right here. Soft bristles, make sure you're not brushing too hard, make sure you're not having any parafunctional activity. And then, with age, I hate to say it, but recession does happen to some degree with age as we age. So, sorry, there's not an easy answer on that one.
Right. Great question, though. All right, we've got like 5 or 6 more. Is there any way to heal cavities? I hate having to get fillings. I had the tiniest cavity, and that was my only option from the dentist. I think another question we batched with this one is another one around cavities, which is, how do I reverse cavities in kids without having to go to toxic fillings?
Yeah. So yes, teeth can repair themselves depending to a certain degree. If it's a really deep cavity, your tooth is not going to magically regrow a crown. Your saliva can remineralize these just beginning stages of cavities called incipient lesions or incipient cavities. That's when it's just really, really just beginning. So we look at things like diet, minerals, hydroxyapatite toothpaste, limiting fermentable carbs and processed sugar in your diet. Look into using something like cod liver oil. You can put the oil directly in your mouth, or you can take, capsules. I like the brand Rosita on Amazon. It's a really, really good brand. This is super rich in vitamins to support dental health. I know a few crunchy moms who swear by the cod liver oil in their kids' mouth for prevention of cavities. I would say for kids, again, same thing. Diet, hydroxyapatite every day, cod liver oil, reduce processed food, rinse with salt water, like a salt brine. You can I used this word brine last night and Chase just died. He was like, "You're just making words up." I'm like, "No,
I've never heard
of
the word brine.
It's like a broth, basically, but you can make your own salty broth. Salty brine is what it's called. And you can swish with this instead of like mouth rinse. And what it's doing is just neutralizing your saliva so that your saliva can continue to remineralize your teeth. Or the kid's teeth. So you can have your kid swish with some salt water. So you would do like get a mason jar and put like an ounce of high quality salt. Like we use Baja Gold, which is just amazing. It's really rich in minerals. So Baja Gold, an ounce of that into a mason jar, and then you fill with super hot, almost boiling water. Let the salt dissolve, let the water cool down, and then just keep a little shot glass next to it. And you can take swigs, swish throughout the day, or have your kids swish every night. So yeah, I mean, that's what I would recommend. As far as going, not going the toxic fillings route, definitely never recommend amalgam fillings for anyone, but especially kids. So I would recommend finding a biologic dentist, a holistic dentist, and you can go to holisticdental.org. I'll have it in the show notes where you can locate your holistic dental. God damn it. You can locate a holistic dentist in your area. They're going to have more materials, more options for your kid using different materials that are considered safe without going straight to cutting into the tooth.
Yeah.
Support the gut and your invisible toothbrush like we've been talking about so much.
Love that. Brine, beautiful brine. All right. The potential negative consequences of root canal that's not discussed with the patient. I suffer from migraines and I'm learning about root canals might be triggering some of my health issues. Any options to reverse a root canal and how someone could go about starting a better journey for their health after finding more information on past experiences that have been done, fillings, root canals, etc.
Yeah.
I definitely relate to this one. I had a root canal when I was younger. And the root canal itself wasn't for all of the tooth, and so I had remaining attributes of the tooth that then decayed, but were capped by essentially a previous root canal. Mm-hmm. And so I had a tooth abscess from one of the roots that was still alive, but had begun to decay because the root canal probably wasn't done perfectly and bacteria got inside of it, et cetera, et cetera. And I was triggered to have severe migraines as like a 6th or 7th grader. Yeah. And I thought I was dying. It was so painful. And so I definitely empathize with this human.
Yeah. Root canal problems are no joke for sure. I've learned a lot about root canals coming out of the dental world, and especially interviewing Dr. Val Cantor, who is a regenerative endodontist. I would highly recommend that episode. I think it's number 94.
Yes.
But if you don't know what a root canal is, it's when there's decay to the pulp chamber, basically, to so deep that you can't fill it with a filling. Like, it's too deep, you can't. So in order to save the tooth structure in the mouth and not get it pulled, people invented root canals where they go in there with a little drill, they take out all the decay, and they literally remove the nerve of the tooth. So it's considered to be dead in your mouth. So they fill this with a material that's called gutta percha, and then they cap it with a crown in your mouth. And it sounds kind of intense, and it is for sure. When I was in practice, the dental office that I worked at, my dentist said, she told me that she believes that it's actually unethical for a general dentist to perform root canals because there's like 30 yards of these nerve endings inside the pulp chamber. They are minuscule. They're microscopic. If you are not going in with a microscope, which is like $100,000 that most general dentists are not buying, if you go in there without a microscope, there's no way that you're getting all the decay. And even with a microscope, Dr. Val Cantor said there's there's no way that you can remove all of that. There's too much. It's too microscopic. It's too small to get everything. So I want to read a little excerpt from Nadine's book again. She quotes this Dr. Nunnally, speaking about root canals. So now, if you have this nice little dead tooth with a root canal sitting in a warm environment in the jawbone, and it's still populated with bacteria, it will be for sure, there is no way for our immune system to deliver its natural defenses to the tooth because there is no blood supply for the tooth. You have a perfect breeding ground for bacteria and the perfect storm for anaerobic bacteria. These are bacteria that like to live in the absence of oxygen, and these are always the most potent of the bacteria. There's a lot of information. On, we could have a whole podcast on root canals.
Wow.
But in my opinion, root canals are unethical. I just don't think that they should be done because there's no way to ensure that you are getting every speck of bacteria before you put a lid on that tooth.
And that lid breaks down. I'm 33, had a root canal as a 6th grader or 7th grader, and this shit chips off all the time. It's so annoying.
Yeah.
And it's the worst spot to floss. I get food stuck in that environment. It's so annoying.
Yeah. So Weston A. Price, you guys, you've heard of him. He was a dentist that traveled around and studied all these different peoples. He found that bacteria and their toxins from root canals could enter the bloodstream and travel to any point in the body and generate disease to that tissue or organ. Dr. Joseph Issels of Germany found that in his 40 years of treating terminal cancer patients, 97% of his cancer patients had root canals, and he would not initiate his successful treatments until all root canals had been removed. This is correlation. This is not causation, but my mother has had a cardiovascular event where she almost died, and she's had breast cancer. And she had really horrible dental work when she was a kid and didn't know about the best practices. And so she's had a lot of dental work done, including plenty of root canals. If you're listening, Mom, I love you. But this is, again, correlation. It's not causation, but I can't help but think about that when I think about my mom and these really intense health scares. I'm glad that she's healthy today. And the reason is simple. Extremely toxic anaerobic bacteria have been found and identified in and around root canals all the time when they put it under a microscope. So for a deeper dive on this, you guys, like I said, listen to episode 94, where we're interviewing a regenerative endodontist, Dr. Val Cantor, and we go deep into root canals and also what are the alternatives? What can you do besides a root canal?
Yeah.
I think that that's a really important conversation.
Very empowering conversation to have.
Yeah. Or you can visit HugginsAppliedHealing.com to learn more about this research for root canals. But all in all, I would not choose to get a root canal. Knowing what I know, it would be another option. It would be pull the tooth or do an implant or something.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a breather on the next two because I can answer these. First one, what's the best DIY mouth rinse solution that can be added to a water pick for beginning stages of gum disease? The salt brine that we've talked about reduces inflammation, promotes wound healing, and bacterial control is a good option. You can add an ounce of high quality salt to a mason jar and then fill it with really hot, almost boiling water and let the salt dissolve. Let the water cool before using and use that as a rinse. This is also a great rinse for anybody who's like in between meals trying to neutralize saliva. So, good idea to be doing multiple times per day. Would not recommend harsh alcohol-based rinses. We already talked a little bit about why you wouldn't want to do that. And then all living libations, happy gumdrop serums, or any other mouth products are going to be super supportive to an already healthy lifestyle of brushing and flossing multiple times per day.
Yeah, they have a happy gumdrop serum. It's like, looks like a little essential oil serum, and you put a drop of that on your finger, and this is good for anyone. You put a drop of that on your finger and then run your floss through like this, and then go and floss, and it's putting that serum underneath your gums.
Yeah, which I assume everybody listening is going to go get themselves some living libations, because you definitely should. A couple things to say. If you've never used a natural toothpaste or
without sweeteners
product,
and stuff like that,
it's going to be surprising. It's very salty. It's really earthy, but I've learned to love it. And then a little goes a long way.
We loved it right away.
So toothpaste, you put a huge dollop, right? The size of a pea would be small for most toothpaste on a toothbrush, but in this case, you need barely any.
Yeah, like just a tit.
Literally just like a tip of your finger amount on your toothbrush. It'll go a long way. So I haven't met a person who doesn't love it after a while, but I have met a lot of people who go, that was an interesting experience, like first time out of the gate. I can answer the next one as well. How to choose a good local dentist. I have a biological dentist, but it's a few hours drive, so I need to figure out who to choose for, those in-between moments. I love this resource. We have already mentioned it once, holisticdental.org. You can find a holistic or biological dentist nearby. Ask people you trust for specific recommendations. That is always a great option. Call a few offices or physically go in and ask, things that we've talked about already today. Is it a mercury-free office? That's a no-brainer. Digital x-rays. Mm-hmm. Do they perform root canals?
We just talked about that. I do not believe they're ethical.
Their thoughts on fluoride. Obviously, you're going to be wanting to, talk to someone who's got at least some level of awareness that there's a legitimate argument for fluoride not being good for you.
Yeah.
Whatever else is important to you. If some of these dentists now are like spas, because it's such a stressful state to be at the dentist, and people who are aware of the power of stress when you're getting a procedure done to you are going to try to make it as calming and relaxing as possible. That's something that Dr. Val talked a lot about, was like, why aren't we setting these facilities up in a way that's like supportive of the healing, psychologically even. How old is the dentist? Not to be ageist, but if you have a dentist who is like in their 70s and their equipment maybe doesn't look like it's cutting edge, how up on the latest and greatest holistic or functional modalities are they using in their practice? Not sure.
It's just straight up just people who are fresher out of dental school are going to be more aligned with the newest technologies. That's all it's about. It's not that there aren't amazing dentists who are over the age of 40. I'm not saying that at all.
Friendly staff. Do they get annoyed when you ask them a question? Are they offended when you ask something that sounds like you might know a thing or two about dental health? Like these are huge little indicators of whether you want to be there or not. And a lot of times hygienists and dentists want to upsell you on a host of different protocols or exams, or, you should come back in a week because we still need to do the following, and just push back a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. How to avoid a crown from failing. Failing. And what to do / what to take to keep fillings for lasting longer.
How to maintain your fillings and crowns. And it's all the things we've talked about already. The sad truth is, as soon as you cut into a tooth and fill it in with a restoration or a filling, or you put a crown on it, that tooth is now compromised for the rest of your life. It just is the way that it is, because now it doesn't have all the natural goodness that a tooth has and needs to stay healthy. So this is where excellent oral hygiene comes into play. Maintain spick and span oral hygiene. Use a soft toothbrush. Get regular exams from your dentist. Ask your dentist to spend a little extra time around the crown. Like, hey, I have a crown here. Just curious. Can you really, make sure he might he might be a little huffy if you ask him, like, tell him how to do his job, but just say, like, I'm kind of worried about this crown. Like, can you just make sure that all the margins are
Totally,
sealed up and nice and tight? And I would definitely avoid clenching or grinding. So look into a night guard. I definitely would not recommend chewing crazy hard things like candy or ice, because those crowns are oftentimes porcelain, which is not as hard as your original teeth and can just chip off really easily. I would also, all the diet recommendations that we've talked about, hydroxyapatite toothpaste, without a doubt. And you can do also extra cleaning around the crown yourself with something like a water pick is really good. And it's the same exact advice for fillings.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any tips for flossing with a lingual bar? Also, what toothbrush do you have? We have already talked about these. The super floss you mentioned is great for the lingual bar flossing.
Yeah.
And then we use a Sonicare.
Yeah.
We try to get the top of the line Sonicare. I have a black one. It looks like it could be Darth Vader's.
Yeah. So super floss, you can just get it on Amazon. Just literally search super floss and you'll see. And then Sonicare, I recommend going to Costco if you can, because if it breaks, they will replace it with no questions asked.
Advice on how to alleviate jaw pain from clenching and general all-day jaw tension without Botox injections. Thank you.
Yeah. If you're clenching and grinding all day, first, what's going on in your life that's so stressful that you feel like you need to clench and grind?
Also, I get it, and I see you.
Yeah.
I've been there.
We see you. Think about getting a night guard, and you can definitely get a night guard if you know you're clenching during the day, which means you're probably clenching at night too. But you can also wear the night guard during the day if you notice that you're clenching and grinding to protect your teeth. If you're
or I'll slide mine as a nervous habit, almost like somebody would be. Like
teeth.
chewing their nails.
Yeah.
I'll slide my teeth across. The surfaces, and I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah. You can set reminders to unclench your jaw. So put on a Post-it note on your computer or wherever you're working, somewhere you'll see on a regular basis, unclench your jaw. Just, you need those reminders. You can do gentle massage with a warm compress. Again, I would avoid super hard or crunchy foods. Certain massage therapists and chiropractors do soft tissue release in the mouth. Definitely evaluate your stress levels. Parasites can also cause clenching and grinding at night, but probably during the day too. So you might want to look into getting those out of you. Botox is not a fix. It is a temporary, relief from the tension. It's absolutely not going to fix anything and has a host of negative side effects. So I don't recommend Botox.
Best homemade toothpaste recipe. I can jump in on this one. A bunch of homemade recipes online. You can definitely look up and find probably a few different recipes that look really similar to this one, and the one that ends up being the one that we've used in the past. 3 tablespoons of organic coconut oil, 1 to 2 tablespoons of baking soda, 1 to 2 teaspoons high quality salt like Baja Gold or a really high quality Himalayan salt. 10 to 15 drops is what we use, is Living Libations Happy Gum Drops. And then if you wanted to sweeten it up, you could use stevia or xylitol or something. Yeah. Those are gut disruptors for many.
Yeah.
So we don't really use those, but if you had to sweeten it up, and then, melt the coconut oil, stir in those other ingredients. You could store it in a glass jar. Mm-hmm. And that's a pretty good option for having a homemade DIY toothpaste.
Yeah. All right. Last question here.
Do you have any clean whitening products you like? How to whiten teeth naturally, or what strips are non-toxic and okay to use? This is probably one of the most common questions that we get, and especially you with white teeth. And the unfortunate answer for most when it comes to white teeth it's prevention of brown teeth.
Yeah, totally.
And it's brush, floss. Critical is the moments that you brush before you eat, or especially before you have things that are going to stain your teeth. Mm-hmm. Brush and floss after you eat. And so you might have to brush a lot more. Mm-hmm. You might even have to brush more than twice a day or floss more than twice a day. But what's important is protecting the teeth from having the opportunity to stain.
Yeah. So I intentionally kept this question last because this is the first question that people will always ask me.
Good for anybody who's hung on 2 hours and 15 minutes.
You're the real MVP if you made it here. And this is where the goods are. I had so many questions around whitening. And yes, to everything that you just said, the best whitening protocol is what you do on a daily basis to keep your teeth clean and mineralized. Teeth are white from the inside out. So if they are really strong and mineralized, they're going to appear more white. Your enamel is actually clear like glass. It's the dentin that's underneath that can change color. And so for me, I use whitening like once a year, maybe. Like if we have a wedding to go to or in a wedding or something, like, yeah, I'll pop my trays in for a little bit. But really, it's my daily routine, minerals and regular cleanings to keep my teeth white and healthy. I know that's not the answer that people want. They want a quick fix, and I get that. I get it. But just know that you must perfect your oral hygiene routine first before you get into whitening. One, because it's easier to whiten clean teeth, and whitening products are damaging to the teeth. They just are. Most have hydrogen peroxide in them, which is it's really astringent on the teeth. And so it can be really damaging. I do not recommend over whitening, like doing it on a regular basis. I don't recommend. So it's important to keep your teeth strong and mineralized in between whitenings because it is damaging. It has a damaging effect. So definitely use hydroxyapatite daily to keep teeth mineralized, especially before and after any whitening. So if you whiten your teeth with anything that I'm going to talk about, you want to use hydroxyapatite before and after to remineralize whatever was demineralized in that whitening process. Make sure you're drinking salty water, and you can use products from Living Libations to keep your teeth white in between. The mint condition mineral tooth powder from Living Libations, or the Tooth Truth polish powder to brighten and remineralize. High quality activated charcoal and or baking soda can help loosen stains, but it's not going to whiten your teeth intrinsically. It's just going to remove surface stains. It's not going to, be that like wow factor. If you really want to whiten your teeth, I recommend a couple brands. Burst Oral Care, where we get our floss. They have a really low hydrogen peroxide whitening strips that also have coconut oil and aloe vera. I've used them. I do like them. It's not like going into your dentist and getting a professional whitening though. It just isn't. It's definitely going to do something though. And so Burst Oral Care is the one. Lumino is the other brand that a lot of people that I know and love and trust really like. It's Lumineaux, Lumino. I think that's how you say it. So this one doesn't have any hydrogen peroxide in it. They're strips, so no hydrogen peroxide. I personally have never used these, so I can't speak to like how well they work, but a lot of people that are in the holistic health space use them and like them, and people that I trust. So I'm not against trying them in the future. They also have like Dead Sea salt and lemon peel oil. So they're trying to put other great ingredients in there. The other option is going into your dentist and getting a professional whitening done, but they definitely will be using products that have hydrogen peroxide. That can cause sensitivity. Probably fine to do like once, but I would not recommend doing this regularly. I absolutely would not recommend things like Crest white strips or any brand with like a TV commercial that you see come on.
What about whitening gum?
That's not a thing. No, that's not. It might be advertised as that. It's not going to whiten your teeth. I can guarantee you that. But if you are having problems with the mineralization of your teeth, I would not recommend whitening. You need to get that mineralization figured out before you apply something that's going to further demineralize your teeth.
No doubt.
So if you get into the habit of whitening too much, your teeth will start to look almost gray, almost like see-through. It's just not good. It's not a good situation. You're better off really nourishing your teeth from the inside out, whitening once in a while, and then really relying on your hygiene practices every day to keep your teeth white, and getting regular cleanings. Getting like the air powder polisher cleaning can really remove stains and make your teeth look way whiter.
Yeah. Love it. Guys, that is it. That is the 2 hours and what looks like about 20-minute marathon.
Wow.
Thanks for hanging with us. Big shout out to you, Mimi.
Thank you.
For just dropping knowledge and spending 80% of this 2.5 hours talking. Well done.
Yeah.
Guys, this is such an underrated aspect of holistic health. So take these seriously. Let us know what you think about these tips.
Yeah.
Which ones were your favorites? Any additional questions or comments, hit us up in the YouTube video.
Comments.
We will look and respond to all of them. I promise you that.
Yeah, absolutely. And any of the products and links that we talked about will, of course, be in the show notes. So check those out. And if you like this episode, please share it with someone you love or on your Instagram. We would so appreciate that. Last question. What is your medicine today, my love?
Wow. Well, my medicine today was learning so much about teeth, because there's even now, I've heard so much of this so many times. I'm either reminded of or hear for the first time something that's really, really cool that I can, implement into my life. And even today, I'm extra encouraged not to use my teeth as tools.
You're welcome.
What about you? What is your medicine today?
My medicine, honestly, was just podcasting with you and diving into getting to put my dental nerd hat on.
You really got to sink your teeth into it.
I did. I see what you did there.
I had so many puns today that I just didn't say, but they're all inside of me right now.
Yeah. Just getting to put this hat back on and express an area of my life that I'm obsessed with, and get to share that education with people is a gift, and it's really fun. So that was medicinal.
Love it.
Yeah. Love it. All right, you guys, thanks for hanging out with us. If you stuck in till now, you are literally our favorite. So we love you. We'll talk to you next time. Go spread some light. Okay, bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening.
If you enjoyed that, check out right over here for some more fun clips.
Oh, and you're going to want to subscribe.
Bye.